All right, let's hit defense. And, we'll start with the defensive front. And the bottom line is the 49ers did not get any pass rush down the stretch. They had none. John was totally right. They couldn't stop the run, but then in the last 6 weeks of the year, they couldn't rush the passer. And when you can't rush the passer and you can't stop the run, you're really not going to win any games. And for the most part, they didn't. But in the offseason, they have poured resources into their defensive line. They drafted Mykel Williams in the first round. They drafted Alfred Collins, who's yet to get on the field in the second round. He's starting to concern me. I got to admit that. C.J. West was drafted in the fourth round. Sebastian Valdez was signed after the draft, and then Bryce Huff was signed as a free agent or traded for, I should say, just recently. And so you've got Huff, Williams, Collins, West, and Valdez added to your defensive line. How much confidence do you have in this defensive line? Are you more concerned about the tackles or the ends? Usually they go with 10, which would be 5 defensive ends, 5 defensive tackles generally. What do you think? What do you think of the D-line?
I think it's designed to stop the run, and you got a little extra Parmesan cheese at the end with Bryce Huff, who could come in and kind of give you some versatility in the pass rush. But make no mistake, whether you're talking Mykel Williams, whether you're talking Alfred Collins, C.J. West, your 3 biggest additions, they're all run stuffers. Now, the hope is some of those guys can evolve into pass rushers, but it does seem like the philosophy is, look, Robert Saleh is going to help stop the run, force third and longs. That's going to create positive pass rush opportunities for some of these guys that are quote unquote not true pass rushers. And hopefully some of those guys can bud into Alfred Collins, I think, is the one that probably has the clearest pathway to being a pass rusher. But like you said, he's not signed. He's one of 30 second round picks who still have not signed their contract. And plus you still have the calf issue. So like, is it just a contract thing? Is it the muscle thing? Like what's going on there? What's going to happen before camp? He's supposed to report in 10 days. There's no movement in the NFL in those second round picks. No, there's 2 out of 32 second round picks have signed in the NFL. Like that is, we're at an impasse here. And so like that's weird. But I do like that you had a goal in mind. We're going to stop the run and force teams to be one-dimensional and try to go for those third and longs, and then we'll allow them to develop into pass rushers. And Mykel Williams, who probably the biggest question mark on pass rush productivity, well, you're going to kick him inside. You know, we just talked about Geno Smith rushing for that game-winning touchdown in San Francisco. Well, Yetur Gross-Matos was playing on the inside there and quit. Like, he was trying to get out the play before. He was tired. He was tapping his helmet. And Nick Sorensen said, nope, you got to stay out there. They snapped the ball. He stood straight up, took 2 steps, and watched him and Leonard Floyd, who were just gassed. Now you have a little bit more of a rotation. You've got younger guys out there. Yetur's still there, but now he's going to be a rotational piece instead of playing as much as he was that game. So you're hoping that the depth can translate to more energy, and there's more third and longs. My biggest question, Larry, is, man, you're relying on a lot of rookies to grow and develop from college to the NFL in 1 year, in one offseason. That's a little problematic to me. I wish there was a little bit more veteran depth at the defensive tackle position and defensive end position, because right now you really just got Bosa and Huff. Outside of that, it's a bunch of young pups. So we'll have to see how it translates, but it's not like a lot of people are projecting like, oh, the D-line's back. And I'm just like, hold on. That's a lot of rookies and a lot of translation that you haven't seen before. I'm not sure you're going to go 3 for 3 with Mykel Williams, Alfred Collins, and C.J. West. I like to think that, and I could see that, but NFL history says, man, you're probably not going to go 3 for 3 with those picks.
Well, I mean, think about first, any pick, forget what round. You've got on one end of the spectrum, they're awesome, right? They're starting immediately, and they're one of your best players that you drafted a star, right? That doesn't happen all that often, right? Where you draft a guy, you put him in the lineup, and he's better than everybody else you have on your team, and he's your best player. He's your star. You drafted Micah Parsons, now he's your best, whatever. You drafted Patrick Willis, now he's your best. It doesn't happen a whole lot. So that's the extreme on one end, right? Then you've got the, hey, we drafted him, and he's not the best player on our team, but he is a starter right away. Then we drafted him, and he's not a starter right away, but you know what? He's a rotation player right away, and he's doing some positive things. Then we drafted him right away, and he's not really ready to be a rotation player. Then we've drafted him right away, but he's hurt, and he's not on the field. And, we still like him and his potential. That's why we drafted him, but it's miles away from being a star. You know what I'm saying? These are all possibilities along the road for rookies, including, hey, he played 3 snaps in minicamp and sucked, and they cut him. It could be as extreme like that, or it could be extreme like he's the best player on your team and he's going to Canton. So a lot of times people are like, oh, can you hit? Can you hit? Well, the hit, quote unquote hit, are all the extreme wins. And in reality, there's so many options that are south of hit that could come into play here that it's not quite like, hey, it's 50-50. It's more like 20% you're going to truly hit, and the guy's a star and a starter. And I would say, there's at least 40 or 50% chance that he's a work in progress. You like him, he's not ready. You like him, but he's hurt. You like him, whatever. You know what I'm saying? The Niners, are you more concerned about the interior or about the outside on that T-line?
I'm more concerned about the interior depth. That's a problem to me because you have guys like Jordan Elliott, who Kyle Shanahan referenced as one of his best run defenders last year, which I thought was insane to me. I do think, Jordan Elliott's a good player, but it's, 3 or 4 bad plays, 1 explosive, amazing play. The consistency or lack thereof is an issue. Kevin Givens is somebody you're going to have to rely on. And he's a true technique-driven 3-tech that can anchor against a double team and plays with great technique, but he's an undrafted free agent. You don't have, again, this is dependent upon CJ West and Alfred Collins hitting, as you just said. There's not a lot of space behind them. Kalia Davis, who are you relying on if 1 or 2 of those guys don't pan out? And I do think that they will pan out. I have a lot of confidence in Alfred Collins. I think that was, I loved that pick. I know you weren't big on that pick, but I loved it. But now it's in question. He hasn't signed his deal, still the calf issue, all those things. But I think they'll be able to stop the run. But I don't know who the pass rusher is. Besides kicking in, Mykel Williams, besides Eter Gross-Matos playing tackle, whatever, who's rushing the passer? So that's great. You're going to stop the run. And I like that they addressed that need full-fledged. They went all in on that. Somebody got to hit the quarterback. I don't know where it's going to come from on the inside.
When they paid $20 million for Hargrave because they felt they needed an interior pass rusher, then they got rid of him because he wasn't very good. He wasn't worth the money. But as you said, who's going to rush the passer from the inside? Now, Jordan Elliott's interesting. The Niners signed Jordan Elliott to a 2-year, $7 million deal last offseason, and he struggled. He only had 7 pressures. And you said Shanahan said he was one of his better run defenders. Well, PFF doesn't think so because his run stop rate was 4.6%. That was tied for the 9th worst among interior defensive linemen with at least 200 run defense snaps. So he, his average depth of tackle for Jordan Elliott was 1.6 yards, tied for 12th best. So he was able to corral, when he was able to bring down running backs, he did it, without them getting big yardage. Let's talk about the Niners would save $2.94 million against the cap if they move on from Elliott. I hear you, though, as far as this depth chart at tackle. It's like, okay, so first of all, my first question is, who starts? Who are the starters? Is it Jordan Elliott and Kevin Givens, and you're going with the old school guys? Is it C.J. West and Alfred Collins, and you're going with the guys you just invested in and you're hoping become the guys? Is it Evan Anderson and Kalia Davis, the guys who put together maybe the best interior film from last year over the course of the full year? I don't know who the starters are, and I don't know who the pass rushers are either, because West is a run defender, Collins is a run defender, Anderson's a run defender. I think those are your 3 best tackles on paper. Givens is a pass rusher. Kalia Davis is a pass rusher. I think Valdez might be a pass rusher.
I like Valdez.
Yeah, I like Valdez too, and I think there's a very good chance Valdez takes either Givens or Elliott or Kalia Davis's spot. I think that's going to happen. But yeah, interior is an issue for sure. As far as and I'll tell you my thought on Collins. I'll defer to you. You watch Texas. You liked him. Um, Here's the one thing about him. He played all the games at Texas, so I was not really that concerned. But he's been in a walking boot, unable to practice since before the draft. They said it was a calf, but anytime you hear calf, I'm always worried about Achilles. Um, and then when I saw the interview that he did, it was the one rookie interview that I wasn't there for, and I just happened to see it the other day on the Niner website or Niners YouTube channel. And he was like, "Hey, who do you model your game after?" And he gave, it's like any answer is a good answer, right? Pretty much, unless the guy's terrible. He's like, I don't watch a lot of NFL football. That's what he said. I don't watch a lot of NFL football. So, I mean, it's not a prerequisite to play in the NFL that you watch a lot of NFL football. But I don't know. That makes me nervous. The fact that he hasn't practiced, that he looks like if he played, he's got just unbelievable ability, almost like too good to be true, too big, too fast, too strong. He's just unbelievable prospect on paper. And it just, I don't know, maybe it's because he's so good of a prospect on paper, it has me worried, but he hasn't gotten on the field. I asked Mayoko about this earlier this week. I said, how much of a concern is it? And he's like, I think it has to be a concern. So, Texas ball. Is Collins a concern, or is he going to, once camp starts, he's going to be this wrecking ball and we're going to laugh and at even the notion that we were concerned?
I do think you have to be concerned. And again, I am a Texas guy. I was, before day 2 of the NFL draft, I tweeted out what I wanted the 49ers big board to be. Alfred Collins was my number 1 before the 33rd pick went. Like, I wanted Alfred Collins badly. And my favorite thing about him is he's his best in the biggest moments of the biggest games. 3rd and 1, 4th and goal, 4th quarter. Alfred Collins is the guy. And played in 64 out of 65 games, like you talked about. Like, he is a guy. Now, he was a 2-gapper, run stuffer. Like, that was what they used him for. And they got their pressure off the edge. And they basically told him, look, dude, your job's not to rush the passer. He was a situational run stuffing player. And his big impact was deflecting passes batted down, things like that. That's how he contributed there. I am concerned. But you asked who the starters were. If I had it my way, the 2 starters would be, I'd go with Alfred Collins, assuming he's healthy, and Evan Anderson. Base situation, those are the 2 guys I want out there. Just stop the damn run. Then rotate in whenever it's 3rd and whatever else. You could keep Alfred Collins out there. But who I think the starters will be, I think it's going to be Jordan Elliott and the 2nd round pick, Alfred Collins. They love Jordan Elliott. I don't know why. He didn't even get a sack last year. 2 quarterback hits only. He's not good against the run, but like, they love that dude. And he came out in the draft, the same draft as Javon Kinlaw, and Chris Kusarek was high on him then. And so it's just like one of those things, like, why can't I quit you? Like, they love that dude. And I don't see it. So my guess is Jordan Elliott and Alfred Collins will start. But man, I want Evan Anderson to get some more snaps early.
Our lads agrees with you, John. They have Jordan Elliott and Alfred Collins right here.
They do great work,
starting on the defensive line. Yeah, no, our lads is a fun. I love if you're looking for depth charts of the NFL that are complete and up to date to the minute, this is it right here. It's even better than NFL.com. I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
Jordan Elliott, Alfred Collins. I guess I would say my starters have to include CJ West, because I think West is really good. But he doesn't get off the ball, and I think he's better against the run than the pass. And getting off the ball is a big part about being an NFL defensive lineman. It's hard to win in the NFL if you don't get off the football. And CJ West doesn't get off the football that well. That's the downside. Now, I'm not concerned at all, because that's a refinement that will happen at the pro level. That's a that's Chris will get him faster off the ball. It's just about timing and desire and learning tricks of the trade and how to get off the ball. But once CJ West starts to win off the ball and get off the ball quick, then I think you're going to see a dominant player because he's winning despite not getting off the ball. If you watch his Indiana film, at least. All right, let's talk about the defensive ends for a second. So my 5 defensive tackles, by the way, are Jordan Elliott, Alfred Collins, CJ West, Evan Anderson, and then I think it's a 3-man battle between Kalia Davis, Kevin Givens, and Sebastian Valdez. And I think there's a chance Valdez gets that job. I would not be shocked if now if there's an injury, maybe 2 of those guys get the job. Heck, if there's 2 injuries, all 3 of those guys are going to wind up making the team. But yeah, I would say of the 5 defensive tackles, Collins, West, Elliott for sure, Evan Anderson for sure, those 4, and then Kalia, Givens, and Valdez battling for the 5th spot. As far as the defensive ends, you need 5, and you got Bosa, Mykel Williams, Bryce Huff, Yatir Gross-Matos, those 4, and then I think everybody else, the other 4 guys, Beal, Garvin, Teron Jackson, and Sam Aquinu, I think they battle for 1 spot. I think Aquinu's got the upper hand on it. But that's kind of how I see the defensive ends. What do you think of the defensive ends? I mean, there's a lot of speculation. Some people are still speculating that Niners may offload Yatir Gross-Matos for cap reasons. I think if they were going to do it, they would have done it by now. So I think Yatir Gross-Matos is I think John Lynch is very invested in Yatir Gross-Matos showing something. So what do you think, John? I mean, as the defensive ends, Mykel, Huff, Bosa, Yatir Gross-Matos, do you agree that it's Beal, Garvin, Aquinu, and Teron Jackson for that last spot? Or do you think Aquinu's in front of Gross-Matos?
Yeah, I don't think – I'm a huge Samo guy, and I trust him a lot more at the defensive end spot than Yatir Gross-Matos, but because, and again, if we look at it with the context we just provided, there's a major question mark at pass rusher, at defensive tackle. Well, Yatir Gross-Matos helps you there. I think he would be the one in the NASCAR package to kick into tackle before Mykel Williams even early on. So I think that's there. But from a true end perspective, Sam O was already in starting reps, Bosa was injured, whatever else. But it was Sam O and Leonard Floyd starting ends a few times last year. And so I think that there's you've got your top 4, Bosa, Huff, Mykel Williams. Those are your top 3. Then after that, you've got Yatir Gross-Matos, Samo, Robert Beal. That's somebody that I think
big name.
He was drafted as a speed rusher out of Georgia. He's been the exact opposite. They flipped it halfway through the season. You look at those last 4 games, he's only playing run snaps now. It turns out he's a pretty damn good run stuffer and sets the edge incredibly well. Not why you drafted him. And they were so frustrated because he couldn't rush the passer for beans. But it's well, wait a second. This dude set the edge pretty damn good. They had no choice but to play him with all the injuries last year. So now, okay, well, we got this Robert Beal guy who is a stud special teamer. You only had really 2 to 3 quality special teamers last year. Well, Robert Beal was one of those. And he could set the run, which Robert Saleh cares more about than anything. So I think it's a clear define, those are your guys. And then, Garvin and Teron Jackson, those are your practice squads. Neither one of them probably make it. One of them clears, you bring them back. But man, this end room, I think, is kind of decided. I'm not really seeing much competition here for who's making the 53 and who's not. Something could change, but I think it's pretty clearly defined. I wish there was one more guy fighting for that 53. I do wish there was a little bit more veteran presence here, but I got Bosa, Huff, Yatir Gross-Matos, Mykel Williams, Sam O, Robert Beal. I think they keep 6.
Wow.
And they've flipped here a few times where they've kept 5 ends, 6 tackles. They've kept 6 tackles, 5 ends, and they've done 5 and 5 because they always manipulate the roster with pup and all that kind of different whatever. But I think you need all 6, especially whenever you bring in Bryce Huff, who is just going to get 20 snaps a game as a pass rusher only. I think you need those other guys, especially with Mykel Williams kicking inside pass rush, Yatir Gross-Matos kicking inside pass rush. This is a position where I think you keep 6 personally.
I wouldn't hate it. To me, it's such an important aspect of football is being able to move the opposing quarterback off his spot. That if Beal looks like a ton and Aquinu looks good, I'd keep them both. I wouldn't cut the same way. There's certain positions you just don't cut. You don't cut quality cover corners, and you don't cut really dangerous pass rushers, because that's where the game is won, I think. So, Beal, I will say this. It is now or it is never for Robert Beal. I mean, you don't get forever. He was a 5th-round pick in 2023. It's now July of 2025. It's go time. He's either going to show something and be a part of this thing, or he's going to get cut.
And if he gets cut, the Eagles are claiming him day one.
Yeah.
Like he's exactly what they want.
Oh, and then they have the rest of his team over, a college team, right there on that same Georgia, on that same Eagle line, all those Georgia players.